Welcome to the Dr. Sarah Experience podcast show, where we talk with some of the most amazing beings who are currently creating and shaping today's culture. And I'm your host, Dr. Sarah. Our guest today, Caitlin Dechelle, was born in Miami, Florida, and currently resides in Atlanta, Georgia. At age 6, Caitlin began her martial arts training and started competing at the age of 9. She joined the Paul Mitchell karate team and went on to earn over 90 NASCA world titles. She is currently pursuing her dream as an actress while putting her martial arts skills to work during stunts. Caitlin is known for her co-starring role in the movie Chinese Zodiac starring Jackie Chan, and for being the lead stunt double for Gal Gadot in the movie Wonder Woman. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Caitlin Dechelle to the show. Caitlin, I am so excited to have you on the show. Wow, what a pleasure to bring you on. And I can't wait to find where our conversation goes today.
Me too.
I'm just so excited by the possibilities, and I wonder what else is possible here that we can discover that we can bring to the world here in this venue. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited we finally got this to work.
I know, persistence pays off.
We did it.
Well, I wonder, where should we start? I would love to hear, and I wonder if the audience would love to hear, maybe what currently is going on for you could be a great place. And then we can always go back in time and explore that as well.
Yeah, so currently right now, I just moved to Atlanta, Georgia, which is insane. I've lived in Los Angeles for 11 years. And it was just time for change, time for something different. I wanted to buy a place. I wanted to settle, not kind of jump from apartment to apartment anymore. And yeah, I am just currently in the middle of moving. So thankfully there's 2 things on the wall. But I literally just dug out this ring light out of a box. My computer is sitting on protein powder.
Wow.
This is where we're at.
Oh my gosh. And you landed here. And how did I get to be so lucky to have you on in the midst of all this?
It was so fun. I was really excited to hop on. So just, carve the unpacking around this, and it all worked out.
Well, I don't know if you can relate to this, but sometimes that's actually how living life works. And I'm sure, based on your amazing career that you've created up to this point, that a lot of times it is about just jumping into the unknown or jumping at the last moment to things where you never expect it to be a certain way, or you just do what it takes. I don't know. That could be a fun place to go with this.
Yeah, no, it's definitely that. I mean, my career has kind of always been that, because you never know what's next job wise. Like my phone could ring right now and I could be in another country in a week and be working on a job for months at a time. And things just kind of flow and happen so quickly that you have to be able to kind of move with it and flow with it. But yeah, kind of how Atlanta all happened. My parents live in Chattanooga, Tennessee, so they're about an hour and a half north. And I come here quite a bit. So, and I have a best friend who lives here, and every year my apartment lease is up, she's like, move to Atlanta, move to Atlanta, move to it. So everyone's kind of been like pushing it for a while. And then I got here in November, actually. I was doing a TV show called Hawkeye, and it's a Marvel show. And my dad one day was like, why don't we just go look for some places? And I was like, yeah, sure. I was like, well, might as well, like we've looked in LA. I kind of know pricing and everything like that. And we just enjoy like looking at houses. We've always loved that. So we went out and started looking, and then it kind of got a little bit more aggressive, and we were like really looking and like comparing. And I was like, oh my God, am I going to do this? Like this is stressful, and I'm working, and my work schedule was crazy. I was shooting nights, I was shooting days, like splits, like it was all over. And then I found this place that I'm in, and I had loved it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I guess I'm pulling the trigger. And within, I saw it twice. And I had to make an offer, because that night someone else made an offer when I was on the way home from work. And I was just like, no, I can't lose it. So I literally made an offer, and like it all happened so quick. I got off the job. I went back to LA when my mom packed my apartment up, taught a seminar on the way back through Sacramento, and then flew here, had a closing, it's just been so manic, but in all the best ways. I'm so thankful. I'm so blessed, but I I cannot wait to just like lay in bed and just be like, I did it.
To actually be in the receiving of it, which you are already, but just actually to kind of
Yeah.
melt to it and into it and have it be your own space.
Yes.
But I sense you knew it was yours at one point where you're just like, this is home.
Yeah, I just had been looking, and I kind of knew what I wanted to an extent, and just when I came here, it's a little bit bigger than I wanted, but I could grow into it. Or if I ever sell it or rent it, there's enough space for a family that, so it kind of has options. And then, if I ever have family, if I even have my parents and then my brother and his girlfriend come, I have space, for everyone. So it's perfect. Like I never thought I would really say that about a place unless like I built it myself, but it's perfect.
That's wonderful. And it was worth all of the whirlwind adventure really with it.
Yes.
That's amazing. And I wonder, I like to look at things we can create in new spaces, like they can contribute so much to us. And we're kind of like, we may be the owners of them, but they also own us in some way, which can be a fun way to look at it.
Yeah, no, they definitely do. It's nice to just have a safe space and a comfort after a long day, after traveling and coming back home, and now I can like actually hang paintings on the wall because I'm like, I'm staying here. I don't have to be like, oh, in like a year I'm leaving. Cause like I never would, you don't buy the trinkets and things and the nice paintings when you're going to move. And when you're living in an apartment, there's not like nice wall space. So now I'm able to like really do that and but it is kind of dangerous. I'm not going to lie. I go through stores and I'm like, oh, I could buy this. I could buy this. I could buy this. And I'm like, stop, just stop.
A slew of possibilities.
So many possibilities.
Oh, I love it. Well, and it's so great now that you have a home base to come back to, even though you can journey around the world doing your amazing work and still have a space of your own. It's like, how's it getting any better than that? Like, wow.
It's perfect because a lot of Marvel shows and a lot of everything in general now shoot in Atlanta. So it makes it nice. My goal now that I'm a little bit older is hopefully work more at home, be able to drive my own car, sleep in my own bed at night, and just like be here. I mean, of course, if I have to travel, I'm more than willing. I've traveled since I was 8 years old competing for martial arts. So I'm used to being on an airplane and in a hotel room and things like that. But if you can settle, it's nice. I'm close to my family. Relational, it makes it easier when you're actually in the same city as the person. So
yes,
like that,
perfect. And so I know you just mentioned the martial arts. Why don't we talk a little bit about that and tell us about your space with where you started to where it's taken you? And
oh man, I'm going to talk for a minute.
We have time.
This is my life. That's the best one phrase sentence to put. I started martial arts 6 years old. I was in Miami, Florida. And I guess even quick pre-story to that, what kind of got me into that, my brother had a brain tumor when he was little. So I did like tap dance, ballet, like all those little things when you're a little girl. Like I was like 4. I don't even really remember it, to be honest. But when my brother got sick, they pulled me out of everything. All money, resources, time went to my brother and getting better. And thankfully, when he did start to get better, had brain surgery, had like the full 9. Then I guess my grandpa thought I was energetic. I have no idea. And they were like, let's put her in something. So they suggested martial arts for if I was ever a female and maybe need to defend myself, like older, So I was like, at 6, I didn't know what any of that even meant. I was like, sure, karate. So we found a martial arts school. I started and I wasn't great, not gonna lie. But I just loved it. I fell in love with it. I guess the competitiveness to it, which I'm the most competitive person. It doesn't matter if we are playing a card game. Like I want to win. Let's just say. So I just think I liked the challenge. Like there was like a next belt to get to or another weapon to learn or just something. So for me, I think I just kind of gravitated towards that. And I was at karate all the time. My dad would always take me. And that was kind of like our bonding experience because my dad spent so much time with my brother in the hospital when he was younger. So then my mom would stay home with my brother. They would do homework and things. And then he would take me to karate and be there and watch me. And he's never done martial arts in his life, but could tell you literally everything to do wrong and right. It's the most impressive thing actually ever. My people will always ask, they're like, did you do martial arts? And he's like, no, I just watch. I watch, listen, and learn.
Wow.
Crazy.
He just
So,
knew how to
he
be
just
it.
watched and was there. And it was really fun to be able to share that together. And then around 8, so not long after I guess I had started, I started competing. And then we have a circuit called NASCA, North American Sport Karate Association. And we had a tournament in a different city every month almost. So we had about 12 or 13 tournaments a year that I would travel to. And thankfully I was fortunate enough for them to be able to, allow me to do that and pursue my dream. And I started competing. I competed from 8 till 24.
Wow.
Which for martial arts, like that's kind of getting towards like the end, for a competitive career. And I just loved it. There was, for me, like I didn't really start winning and dominating till I was about 14. So it was a struggle up until then. I mean, I was being noticed. Paul Mitchell, the hair care product, actually has a karate team. So I got picked up, when I was 11 years old. And that was like, that's one of the biggest things you could do on our circuit team wise. So that was like beyond exciting and an honor. And then from there on, like I said, when I was 14, I really started like picking up and, gaining speed and dominating. And then from then it was just fun. It was getting better and better and staying on top. And I have over 90 world titles and some titles that men don't even have. And I hold titles over everybody, and nothing that I say very often, but I mean, facts. So I guess if we're talking about it.
Yes. Well, that's such not only is it an accomplishment, it's like amazing and beyond.
Thank you.
Beyond amazing.
Thank you.
I love the word that you use, like the dominance, wasn't it? And that's just such a powerful word. And just, I can sense the energy behind it and everything that as you speak about it, what you brought into the world and the difference it's been creating, just like, and I hear the passion and the joy of it too for you.
I loved it. I still do. It sucks. It got to a point where I couldn't compete anymore, but that's where I knew I kind of needed to make a transition. I was in college for a second. I was actually a biology major. I wanted to be an orthodontist for all my years. I mean, I had braces twice, but still, don't ask me why. And so I went to school, and then at the same time though, I was like, I want to still do something with martial arts. Like I still love this. I still want to be involved. How do I do that without like opening a martial arts school or starting a karate like, it wasn't anything that like really fueled me there. So that's when kind of LA was always like a back option, but it was a big option. It was like moving cross country, leaving school. So there were all these things that were kind of like pulling me, and I was just like, oh, I don't know what to do. But after a year and a half of college, I left and I moved to LA. And at first my parents were like, what are you doing? You're going to be an orthodontist. And I was like, well, kinda. I was like, I'll still go to school. I'll still try to figure that out, but I think this is kind of where I want to go with it. And they support me. I'm very close. My parents are like my best friends. I text my mom probably more than anybody on this planet. So at first they were like, but also supported me. And I moved out. I drove my car across country, and I was like, look, I'll keep going to school until work picks up. But if work picks up, then I'm going to work. And that's what I ended up doing. I eventually, I remember I had a bio lab one day or something, and my teacher was like, oh, well, if you don't come take your lab, you're failing. And I was like, I'm failing, I'm dropping out. Like, I'm gonna go work this job. Like, this is my dream. This is what martial arts is, my dream. That's what I love. So I was like, this is the way I'm gonna keep going until my body doesn't let me anymore. And thankfully it still does.
It still does. Wow.
But so then that's kind of how I moved into the industry.
And you didn't lose track of it. And I'm wondering, at what point did the going to LA come in? Like, was there an aspiration of doing acting or performing in that way? Or
to an extent. So Taylor Lautner, actually, the werewolf from Twilight, he competed with us, same circuit. I was on the same karate team as him when we were kids back in the day. And he had moved out and started the acting thing really young. Like, he did Shark Boy and Lava Girl and all that. So It was always kind of a thing, but it wasn't something that like my family was able to do at the moment. They had jobs, they had lives. I had a brother. He was in school, like there was so much going on that it wasn't just like, oh, I'm an only child. Like, let's pick up and go to LA.
Yeah.
So it was always like a thought,
Mm.
but not feasible when I was young. And then as I got older, I was like, oh, okay, well, I've graduated high school. And actually, the last few months of high school, I had a tournament in LA, and the stunt group brought me in to audition for Tron to
Wow.
double Olivia Wilde. And I was still in high school, and I was so young. I was so green, new as we say. And I didn't know anything. And like I went in and I did pretty good. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, long story short, they ended up not using me. They filmed in Canada, but it still kind of like opened my eyes. And I was like, this could be cool. But again, it was just such a big thing to just stop school and move across the country. Like I had already moved to go to school, and then it's like, okay, now, so it was a lot. I was definitely nervous, and young, of course. So I didn't know right, wrong, good, bad. Not that there is one or the other, but still, you just don't know, And then I moved further from my family, which I'm super close with them. So that was hard. And yeah, it wasn't easy, but I was just like, I think if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it now. And looking back, it's been the best decision I've made. Like I love what I do and where I'm at. So I don't look back and regret it.
Well, first of all, amazing. And what's wonderful about that is that you were so present in the moment of making that decision. And that's really all we have, is the moment to make a decision. But it does impact our future. So every choice creates. And what I love about the story and your journey is that you chose not to do the linear, to go what you're supposed to do, that you're supposed to go to college and you're supposed to get the degree, and the supposed to's can go on and on and on. I like to call them like inventions in this reality, the white picket fence and all the rest. You were willing to carve your own niche and be your own person no matter what, even if it meant leaving your family, even if it meant to like go all the way and it not going anywhere, like all the way. Like you were willing to be that. And that's just like, what an amazing gift that you have, and the willingness to be that.
Yeah, sometimes you just kind of have to jump and hope something is going to catch you. The right thing is going to catch you. And it still makes me nervous. I mean, making decisions with certain jobs and things, it's hard because you sometimes don't know if going to that job, and I've done that. I've been on jobs where I eventually end up leaving because it's, whether you're not surrounded by good people or, whatever it may be. So it is hard. Like I still get caught up in those decisions. Like, is this good? I mean, like monetarily it may be good, but then maybe, mentally it may not be good. And it's that balance of like, what do you pick? Do you pick your mental health and your sanity? Do you pick the money? Do you pick, your relationship? There's so many things. And that's why when people look at this sometimes and they're like, well, you have this amazing job. And I'm like, I do. Trust me, I live an amazing life. I'm blessed. I have a skill that I've, of course, worked for, but still that I'm blessed with. But it gets hard to make some of those decisions sometimes based on all those things that sometimes people don't realize. And then I'll tell them, and they're like, oh, yeah, that is a lot. That's a lot to consider. And I'm like, it is. It's not just like yes or no to go do a job. It's like, and yeah, everyone works mostly all months of the year, but to do some of these jobs that are very physical or there's a lot. It's not
very
just
demanding.
Like, yeah, exactly. So there's a whole lot that encompasses it, which for every job, I'm not trying to make it seem like more than one is better, whatever than another, but there is a lot that goes into it besides just the job and, the martial arts itself. So,
well, I hear you going into a question, and if we are asking questions, like a lot of times what questions will allow us to tune into the energy, because I sense you're amazing at following the energy of what you're creating. And there is like I like to use light or heavy versus like a right or wrong. You get a light, oh, is it light? Okay, I'm going to choose that. If it's heavy, like what else is possible? So
I like
really, like you said, there's no mistakes. It's just like, okay, this is reading light, I'm going to choose that. Or there's light and heavy. You have to kind of like filter it out maybe
Yeah.
to really then determine if this
Right.
overall is a right choice.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, there never is a right or wrong. Maybe looking back, eventually it may feel like, oh, that was the wrong choice, or, you know, looking back of like moving to LA, it was the right choice. But it is hard sometimes because in that moment you don't know. And sometimes for me, I get very stuck. Like you know, I'll call my parents and just be like, and they're like, you can't make a decision. I'm like, well, not that I can't make a decision. It's just a very hard decision to make. And I, again, kind of not right or wrong, but like it feels right, but it feels wrong. And then I'm just stuck in this middle point to where I can't differentiate kind of what feels better. And sometimes that's why I call them. And it's helpful because I get to talk it through and kind of just be like, hey, you know, this and that. And it's funny because my mom will sometimes be one side more, and then my dad will be on the other side, and I'm just like, this is where
they're kind of both you together, and you're like,
and I'm like, okay, so you say this and you say this, and I'm right here. That does not help me.
Exactly. And this idea of there are no mistakes. One thing I'm aware of, even if, let's say, choosing something and then it ends up being heavy, I've become aware of like being grateful for the things that have been heavy, or the least things that I expect to happen, oftentimes open up other possibilities that weren't there before. That if that thing didn't come in heavy the way it did, these other things wouldn't have opened up. So it's weird when we're looking at it from afar and not getting too caught up in the thinking, because our thoughts, feelings, and emotions can definitely get in the way of our awareness and our knowing. So it's kind of a cool way of just like, okay, that didn't work. Now what? It's like 10-second increments really is all we're meant to live in.
And you look back and you see how it all kind of pieced together. Or like, even for me, you know, I worked this one job and then met this person, which put me at that job, which connected me 5 years later to, and I'm just like, what? Like the way it all just ends up connecting sometimes is crazy. But it's so cool to look back at the same time, because you're like, okay, like you said, at that point, maybe something that I did was wrong, but it led me to right, or vice versa. And it's cool to see. But like you say, in the moment, sometimes it could just be like, what am I gonna
do? Overload.
Yes, for sure.
Well, I'm often using tools that allow us to kind of get really clear on what are our choices and really tuning in. Because I don't know about you, but do you find yourself that you'll pick up on a lot of different points of view, like even other people's points of view that sometimes can almost get in the way of our own like awareness or our own choices?
Yeah, no, I definitely find myself there because I'm one that likes opinion. I feel like I vibe with that more, because when things are in my head, I think them through, but I feel like as soon as I say it, sometimes even just saying it makes me feel like, oh, why didn't I think about that? And I'm just like, that's odd. Because like for example, I send voice memos instead of texting sometimes to my two best friends. They're twins. And it's almost like therapy sometimes, because first of all, I could get it out and off my chest. But second of all, I'll talk through something and then they'll be like, oh, well, why don't you do this? Or why don't you, attack it like that? And I'm just like, why did I not think about that? So it's like, for me, I do like it. Now, the only time that I don't like opinion is if sometimes that person wants me to take theirs without anything else. They're just like, this is my opinion, this is how it should be. And for me, that gets stressful, because then especially if it's someone that I care about, because then I'm like, okay, I really care about this person and that opinion is good.
Yeah.
But it's not what I would do per se.
Yeah.
So then I get torn, and then it starts getting a little tough for me. But yeah, if I had to pick one or the other, I would definitely like an opinion and to talk things through.
Yeah, it gives you a lot of information to throw around and see which one resonates the lightest with you. And I sense this is a good platform to jump off of this idea too. Maybe not exactly what you were saying there about people's opinions, but there's certainly in this reality a lot of judgment in the world. And that a lot of times when people come in and they want to push their point of view on you, or in order to try to be right and prove you wrong. And I sense you're in the industry of a lot of judgment per se. And I don't know if that would be something for us to speak on a little bit, or your
Yeah.
awareness on it.
No, for sure. I mean, I think judgment in the world in general today has gotten even crazier than I could ever imagine.
Yeah.
But especially, in the industry as well.
Mhm.
Even just the movie industry, and people wanting you to look a certain way, and have this color hair and this kind of face and this kind of body, and it can get very, I don't even know the word, just exhausting and harsh, and
Mm,
it's just a lot. And it's weird because I'm not like that. I didn't come from that LA Hollywood world.
yeah.
I'm just very relaxed and like chill. So for me, it's like I'm not into all that. I'm not trying to prove anything to anyone.
Yeah.
And then you feel it on social media, of course, which is, I mean, I feel like the main place for it. And it's
Mm,
hard, you want to do certain things, but even posting a selfie, sometimes people get so like, oh, why are you so about yourself? And I'm like, well, I'm not. I gave this example to someone the other day, and I was like, look, right now I sit at 115,000 followers, and I post stories, and it may be like of my new furniture, let's say. But at the end of the day, people don't want to see my new furniture. They want to see my face. That is why they
mm,
follow me. But I was like, sometimes I get so in my head that
mm,
like I don't even want to put my face on social media, because I'm just like, people I know are thinking about me a certain way and judging me a certain way. And if they
mm.
really knew me, I'm just very like chill and relaxed. And
Yeah.
okay, I may like look at the camera a certain way for a selfie, but like I'm not out taking selfies all day, like it's so it is very tough. But thankfully my platform, like, Instagram, which I use mostly, I
Uh-huh.
have really cool fans. Like,
Aw.
yeah, I get on live and like I'm like friendly with some of them. Like I recognize their names and I'll be like, "Hi John, hi Adrian, hi." And like
Aw.
it's so nice because it's like my little
Mm.
online like friend base. And
Yeah.
there'll be the occasional rude comment, and then I'll even have those fans be like, don't talk like that in here, and they like defend me, and I'm like, this is so sweet. So
Aw.
thankfully I have a really good base. But yeah, I mean, I feel, and I'm sure you get the judgment and everything else as well, and it's
Yeah.
hard. It's hard to kind of brush off sometimes. I do pretty good, but there are the occasional comments or things that get me, and I'm just like, oh, I kind of just like,
Yeah, and I sense that's what judgment wants us to do. And thank you for sharing all that. And it's
oh, of
beautiful.
course.
And I love that your followers are that light and ease. And I sense
Yeah.
I've talked about this before in some of my social media and also just on other shows about there's two types of people in the world.
Oh.
There's those that come in very linear, black and white, kind of all or nothing, are here just kind of, they're fine with this reality.
Mhm.
They tend to need to be right, want to try to prove others wrong, are into kind of, I call it drama, trauma. And they're called humans.
Oh,
Yeah. And then there's those
love
of us who come
that.
in, those of us who come in who are like doing 20 things at one time and content, we're lucky, are the seekers of the world. There has to be something greater, that
Mhm.
we tend to be harder on ourselves than others. We're the ones that are looking to create a change and be the difference. And
Mhm.
it's referred to as humanoids.
Huh.
So this is just from a cool tool
Yeah.
called, or system called Access Consciousness. It's kind of fun to play, human or humanoid. So you can tell probably the people that are
Mhm.
doing the judging and the hating are the humans who are into problems, not possibilities. Whereas humanoids are like, can we all get along and just have
Yeah.
fun?
Can we just be nice to each other? Like, what
Yes.
happened to that in the world? What happened to just, and it's sad. Like, I'll go places and I'll be looking, at a girl, and she's like looking so mean back at me. And then I'm like, nice shirt. And then
Mm.
she relaxes and is like, thanks, like no one ever says something nice. And I'm just like, what is wrong with society nowadays? Like,
Wow.
we can't even just look at each other and like, first of all, just look at each other and smile. Like, how many people I walk past nowadays and I'm like, hi. And they just like put their head down and keep walking. And I'm like, it's just so, I don't know. It's weird because I see another human, and you're another human. That's
Yeah.
it. Doesn't matter about anything else. You're a human. Hi, hello.
Yeah. We can all connect and relate.
Oh,
And one thing I've learned to do and choose to do with judgment, it's fascinating, is I'll aim to thank people for their judgment.
mm,
Also to do like, oh, that's an interesting point of view. And if we
Oh,
do interesting point of view, it's like an allowance for people to be complete idiots and jerks and unconscious. I kind of refer to people that are choosing that rather than, and then be like, okay, next.
right. Yeah, no, you just have to move on. And that's what people
Yeah.
say. Like I was on live earlier and they're like, wow, like I even get DMs after and they're like, you
Hmm.
do a really good job at just like brushing by. And I'm like, well, you have to.
Yeah.
I'll make the occasional statement of like, please don't talk like that on my live. Cause like I do have some kids and stuff. And I
Yeah.
don't want that kind of behavior. But then also at the same time, other people don't like it either. And it makes them uncomfortable. And I'm like, I don't want people on my platform coming to like see me and talk to me being
Yep.
involved in that energy either. So yeah, it's interesting. But I just try to be the positive, try to be the change,
Yeah.
even if it's one person.
Just
Try.
one person, and you are, and I can tell this about you. You light up the room. Your energy is so light and your being is so sweet. Like, wow, it's giving me chills.
Oh, thank you.
So I can see how that emanates in everything that you're doing and creating. And maybe we could talk a little bit about that, like some of the amazing work you've done in LA and Atlanta and everywhere you go.
Yeah. I would say probably one of the biggest jobs that most people, will know and see is I doubled Wonder Woman, the first movie. So I did
Wow.
all of her action for that. Some of my favorites, I did The Mandalorian, Star Wars on Disney Plus. I doubled Ahsoka Tano and Bo-Katan. So one of them is a Jedi. So she has lightsabers, which for me, being a martial artist and sword being my weapon,
Ah,
I was in heaven. What else have I done? I mean, I'll just name some. I did
yeah.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I just did Hawkeye here in Atlanta, which is a huge Marvel show. And the character that I actually doubled got a spin-off show. We'll be
Oh,
shooting that eventually. And she's the sweetest, sweetest girl. I did a movie called The Hunt. I doubled Betty Gilpin. Um, gosh, How I Met Your Mother, Pretty Little Liars. I was on Teen Wolf for many, many years. That was on MTV.
wow.
Yeah, list kind of goes on. It really depends like what you like to watch. Like I'll say some things and people will be like, and then I'm like, Star Wars. They're like, and then they like jump into the conversation and they're like, you said what? And I'm like, Star Wars. So it really just, depends on what you watch. But
You've done such a variety. You can tap into all these different genres of
yeah,
movies and
it's been fun and it's definitely been an adventure. And I just love that, every character I get to double is somebody different and you're in a different, costume and you're doing different moves and different fight styles and you're working with different groups of people and I may be in a different city. So it definitely keeps things fun and interesting. Wonder Woman, for example, we shot for 10 months. Hawkeye that I just shot, we shot for 6 months. So it's definitely a long period of time and the years start to go by really fast because you just don't even, I'm a workaholic. I just want to work. So sometimes you could do 2 jobs for 6 months and your whole year is gone. And I mean,
that's a
when
year.
I work, I'm like, that's all I do. I literally eat, sleep, work, eat, sleep, work, barely sleep sometimes, barely eat sometimes and work. And that's it. And you're just constantly in that grind of like the next, the next, the next. And yeah, that's the only thing for me is that gets hard. I'm like, I have to stop and be like, okay, I need to go on a vacation.
Yeah.
I need to go visit my family, because if
Yeah.
not, like, you just forever keep going and it's just a never ending cycle. But
Well, I wonder too, you love it so much. It gives you the energy to keep it going with almost ease. And then you have to remind yourself to go on vacation rather
yeah.
than one of those jobs where I need a vacation. No, you're like,
Um,
oh yeah, it's time.
yeah, no, I need a vacation off this last one I just did, but then I bought this house and then yeah, no, that hasn't happened.
Yeah.
It will eventually once I get settled, but it's just been like I just look in boxes every day. That's all I've been doing. But there will be a vacation eventually. But I do love what I do. I'm very thankful and every job that comes around and someone giving me the next opportunity is always it's amazing. It's super fun.
So what's it like to do the martial arts in a film, like in costume? And what is that like for you? And maybe even use one of the movies like Wonder Woman or, that you could share.
Yeah. Anytime you're in a different costume, it's just such a cool experience. And if it's something iconic like Wonder Woman, right? The first time I went in for a costume fitting and I put that on, I was like, I just looked in a mirror and I was like, what is happening here? I'm like, this isn't even normal. Like yeah, wow, that's me. So sometimes those like realization moments that you're just like, whoa. And then even like Mandalorian, the girl that I doubled is Rosario Dawson, and she's a huge actress. She's an incredible human being. So going into that job, knowing that I was going to be working and training with her, and then on set with her, and like she was just the most supportive person ever. Like I was on set flipping around and doing stuff, and before they yelled cut, she's screaming and clapping, and I'm like, and I thought it was screaming. One day I was like, oh my God, is everything okay? They were like, yeah, that's just Rosario. She's like cheering for you back there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's the cutest thing. But
So
then
lovely.
again, like putting that costume on and being a Jedi and having lightsabers, like dream, So it's just like sometimes you kind of get lost in it because I do it so much, and you get to work and it's just like getting to any other job. You get there and you sit at your laptop or you sit at, and that's for what it is for us because it becomes habitual.
Yeah.
But I get there and sometimes I just have to stop and look in a mirror and be like, whoa, like people would die to like be standing here in this costume, or even watching me in this costume, or being on this set with some of these legendary people. Like when George Lucas showed up to set,
wow,
like I was like, oh my God, like what do I do? Like, okay, stand normal, be just like don't know, but it's so exciting. And then that really sometimes hits you, and you're just like, okay, like this is cool. I got a really cool job, like this is real. And then it kind of, so you jump in and out of perspective and whatnot. But like I said, I wouldn't have it any other way. I love it.
Well, and that space of I sense you're describing as gratitude in those moments where it's just like just a energy of gratitude just comes over you, and you're being it. You're like, oh, amazing, and acknowledging it. And so important for us to acknowledge our creations, and so that more can come in as a result of what you're creating. And there's such a nice, beautiful humbleness that you bring to it too, and just the almost kid wonder. And when you're putting the costumes on, when you describe that, I'm like, wow, like you're almost taking on the energy of that superhero, that superpower. I'm like, wow, because you got it. You energetically show up in this world like the X-Men superpower.
Thank you. Well, it's hard. You have to, you put on that costume and the millions of people that are going to watch that and what they expect from you. And especially them remaking Wonder Woman after all those years, I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't let these people down. Like I was working out 2 times a day. I was on a strict diet. Like, and this isn't just for like me and, making some money. This is like worldwide. People read these comics and they expect a certain level and just all these things. So it gets stressful, Some days I was too tired to just barely even stand, let alone be flipping around and fighting and this and that. And it's like, but people don't care. People don't know that was your 7th day of work and your 20th hour. Like nobody will know at the end of the day. The only thing they see is on that screen. So you have to be at 100% no matter what. And I feel like my martial arts training in all my years really mentally prepared me for that, and physically as well. But I think the mental side is just as much as the physical side, and just the dedication, the determination, the perseverance, like, let me finish this. Because some people, are whatever. And I'm like, no, it can't be that. It has to be perfect.
Well, and what's amazing is that you're aware of all of the dimensions to it. Like there's not just the media experience, it's the people you're working with, it's the next and the next and next, and it keeps like exponentializing in a way that's like, wow. And that you're tuning into all of that is phenomenal.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Really, I can see how much you bring, and it shows like in all the work that you're doing, your Instagram and your TikToks, and it's just like, maybe let's segue to that a little bit about the social media and what's that been like for you in terms of your amazing videos. And
thank you. Yeah. So for social media, for me, it was just always kind of one of those things that became something because, I competed on a circuit and I had been around for a while, and I feel like I had kind of a fan base from that. And then, you know, of course, you start going into some of these shows and things that people watch, they find you from, you know, that. And but for me, it's more of almost like a creative outlet, because when I'm not working on set and when my mind's not stimulated with a job, I don't have as much to do. You know, I don't work 365 days a year. I don't think I could. My body would probably hate me.
Yeah.
So, you know, in that in between time, it's like, okay, what can I do? And like, for example, with TikToks, I started like kicking to the music, like people dance. Well, I'm a martial artist, I kick. So I like make these kicking videos. And then, you know, fun now, I get to do stuff with like brands and stuff and get to like Rockstar. I created some, you know, content for them. And then, so this way that kind of allows me to maybe one day, you know, have to shoot for a product or have to, even if I just shoot for fun, I'm just like, oh, perfect. I can have the day, still do martial arts, still be creative, still shoot and be on a camera. And it allows me to still be able to do something without not necessarily being on a show or going to work. And then plus the fans love it. They, you know, they think it's fun and they get to see what I'm up to. And yeah, so I love it. It's hard when I am working though, because then I don't get to create as much because I'm working. And then they kind of understand, some do, some don't, you know, they're like, oh, you haven't posted much lately. And I'm like, oh, I've worked 20 hours and I haven't slept yet, but that's why I can't shoot. And you know, everything on set is super secretive. I can't post what I'm doing when I'm at work until the show comes out. So definitely a fine line, a fine balance, but I do really enjoy it. Like it is fun to me. And I don't look at it as, I mean, it's not like a main source of income. It's not like, oh my God, I didn't get this many likes. Like I know people that delete posts if they don't get a certain amount of likes. I'm like, wow, no, for me, it's fun. I do a kick video, whatever, I'll put it up. Like I posted a video today and I was like, I can't wait for summer. And I was just dancing around doing some karate, but it's fun. I'm not like super serious with it either. I just wanted to, I love pictures. I've always loved pictures since I was a kid. Like if the four of us went on a family trip, I'd be the one with the camera, like taking memories. So for me, that's like kind of what it is. It's like a big photo album. So
yeah, and it's a beautiful, I sense you're being all of it. There's no separation between what you're doing for your job and what you're creating even online and social media, but there almost seems like a little extra personal touch to the social media piece where you can be like a little more customized in what you create. And I think it's a beautiful, beautiful accent to everything you're doing, and a way for really your audience to access you in a way that's more immediate.
Right. Yeah, because it's right there. It's at our fingertips and everybody's always on it. Everybody always wants to know. But it's like one of those things where I never want it to be like too fake, you know, where you go to some people's Instagram and it's like all these like professional, perfect touch pictures. Cause I'm like, that's not life at the end of the day. Like that may be who we are for a photo shoot, for something that we like, whatever, a job, but that's not everyday life. I like to make it everyday and fun. And what am I doing? And I try to hop on live and chat. Like today when I was doing my makeup, getting ready for this, I just hopped on live and I just like chatted with some people, and it's like, and it's fun just to talk and see what they're up to, if I could brighten somebody's day, whatever the case may be. But for me, it's fun. I don't take it too seriously. Like some people, like that's their.
Well, then it becomes another job, and then it's no fun in that way when it gets to that point. So I love the way you approach it or being with it. And it's really an invitation for other people to be it too. Like I sense you're very much an inspiration to people, and just the kindness that you are and just everything you're bringing to this world. I just want to acknowledge in this moment that really,
I really do try. My parents have raised me amazingly, and I've learned a lot from them, and just being in a lot of situations, you know, and traveling since I was a kid. But it's just made me very, very grateful and I'm very humbled. If you meet me, I never even tell you what I do. Like I may just be like, oh, I'm in the industry, or like, oh, I'm this. Like I never say anything. And then sometimes people go to my Instagram and, you know, I'm verified and they're like, this is you. And I'm like, yeah. I just don't even like to tell people, because like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me what you do or what you have. It matters like how you treat people, how you are, what you bring to the world, you know? Are you light? Are you do you inspire somebody? Things like that to me are more important about a person than how many Instagram followers you have or how much money you make. Or, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're a terrible person, you're a terrible person. No one wants
That's
to
right.
be that, you know? So it's like, I try now. I'm not perfect, obviously. We all have our flaws, but that's what I aim for.
Yeah.
You know, people and with situations and things. I just want to be that inspiration if I can to somebody, or be the light, you know? So
Well, I sense that's how you're living your life, and that's how your journey has been, because it's natural for you this way. And at the same time, you're aware of when people come in, like I referred to earlier, like this linear world, do it more like for the outside in rather than being it and showing up,
yeah.
and that's what you're being and showing it up, like showing up. And I have a curious question about, so if we look at, like, let's say a role that you would like to play in a movie that you have yet to play, or star in something, what would that be?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So my goal is to act and do my own stunts. That's kind of the goal, like a female Jackie Chan, a female
Okay.
Tom Cruise, kind of that vibe, whether it's some sort of agent, some sort of superhero, some sort of blend, maybe even of the two, something like that. I would love that. I think it would be a challenge. I'm not a trained actor by any means, but I did a movie with Jackie Chan almost in the beginning of my career, and I
Wow.
did all my own stunts, and that kind of opened my eyes. And if someone like him saw potential in me and saw that, then that really inspired me from that point on. And then I just think, yeah, like I say, it would be a challenge. It'd be a challenge in the acting sense, and then it would be my face on camera. I wouldn't have to hide, you know, being the stunt double. It could be me doing all the fights. So ideally, that some action mash of the two, I would love.
Wow, that sounds fantastic. And I see that as absolutely a possibility. And I always like to ask a question like, what would it take to create that? And oh, it's awesome. So fantastic.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Uh,
I see it. You know, it's one of those things, like you say, you've got to dream it. You got to keep
yeah.
working towards it. It just is a process. It takes time, but
And a lot of times too, it's just like about putting it out there to the universe and people that you're interested in this. And yeah. Woo. Exactly. And that's really where, if we're open to being out there with it and also open to receiving, and it never comes in the way we think it's going to,
right.
like we talked about before, but it's like, heck, why not ask and go big, ask big.
Yeah, I mean, you have to dream big. That's always been a thing for me. You always have to dream to the next thing. Like you just like I don't want to say being content is bad, but you could be thankful for what you've done, but you can't sit there like, oh, okay, well, I've done this job. No, okay, it's like, can I do this next job? Can I do this? Can I act and do my own stunts? Can I one day maybe fight coordinator, stunt coordinator, whatever the case may be? Like for me, there's always a next. There's always like another goal. There's always do something better and improve. And like I say, I think I'm just the most competitive, most OCD person you can ever meet. So
oh, perfect. You're in the right career and in the right energy of it all, because it is like it's kind of living consciously as well, because once we complete something, instead of getting limited by what we just created, you're into the like, what else is possible now? It's really what you're being, and like, okay, now what?
right, like what's next? And that's the thing kind of about this career, like you said, is that the opportunities are limitless. Like there's everything. And that's what I love. Like you could do different things within, like we have a martial arts tournament that's on ESPN every year that I used to compete on, my 8 to 24 years old. And now I broadcast and I talk about the tournament. And then when the kids win, I go on stage and I do the interviews. And it's I've never done that. So it's a whole nother world of like having somebody in my ear, running at the stage and heels on with a mic in my hand as they're talking to me, getting back to the booth, putting my headsets on, doing the intro, doing that. And it's like a tornado, but I love every minute. And if we do 4 hours almost, and by the end, I'm like, I want to do it again. COVID, but it's
Mhm.
so different for me. And I love being thrown in. I love challenges. And I just, again, my career has kind of led me to be able to do something else like that, which is just so cool because it's another opportunity. It's another challenge, which I strive on. I love it.
Well, and you're willing to be unlimited. Like there's no limitation because you're in the question of it. And it's almost like I sense that's just wow. And you're living that. And even in your personal life, it's kind of like being in the question all the time too, of like, there really aren't any mistakes, like we said. And I'm wondering too, like on a personal level, what are some things that you do enjoy, like maybe even for your body? Because your body is definitely your beautiful tool that you bring into the world of and gift. So is there anything in particular you do to take care of it or relax with it or?
Yes and no. I probably should do a lot more. I think being an athlete since I was a kid, I'm kind of just used to always like healing and being better and good, which as I get older, I realize that does not work the same. My body does take a little longer to recover or, whatnot. But for me, staying in the gym, one, is important. And everybody's like, oh, you must work out all the time. And it's like, yes and no. Like, I'm still an adult. I still have many other adult things to do. Now I'm moving. I've barely been to the gym, but I mean, I'm lifting a ton of boxes and shifting and, but it's not the gym, but I also don't have time because I'm trying to get adult life settled. So
Yeah.
I do enjoy just going to the gym and, hopping on a treadmill or a Stairmaster and just blasting some music and like
Mm.
going. Obviously a good massage. A chiropractor has been more in my life nowadays just because I feel like sometimes that really helps relieves and restores. But much more than that, I don't do. I'm pretty old school. Like I'll take an Epsom salt bath if I'm like really that sore to like move. And then, I try to eat clean. I've been vegan for like 2.5 years now, which has definitely made me feel a lot lighter and healthier internally. So yeah, just things like that. But, again, I'm no perfect human. I eat junk food. I have a crazy craving. So, I do have those occasional roadblocks as well. But yeah, I do try to keep my body as healthy as I can just for work at any moment because I'm not on a job currently, for example, but I could get a call tomorrow and someone say, hey, I need you to start on, even if it's a week, I need you for a week. And it's like, okay, I have to be on point. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like being prepared 365 days a year.
And you're naturally that way. And you're also choosing, obviously, those ways to be it. And I love the junk food piece because we do require a variety of things in our world and just to enjoy and taste yummy things. And it sounds like the vegan lifestyle has been like something you've enjoyed being part of.
So much. It's kind of a few different things. I had stomach issues a while back and I had really bad bloating. I had really bad just stomach problems. I have a very sensitive stomach, I guess is a good way to just put it. And I just didn't know what it was. I was eating super clean. I was eating healthy snacks, salads, like barely any carbs. And I would bloat to the point of where I looked like I was like pregnant. And not only that, but it was uncomfortable. And being an athlete, like I can't be uncomfortable. I can't not move or like, so that was one thing. And then this was years later. Finally, my mom actually went vegan because her cholesterol was high and doctors wanted to put her on medicine and all these things. She's like, I'm too young for that. Like, whoa, let me see if I can find an alternate. And she did. She went vegan, brought all her levels down. And she was like, try it. You don't know what it could do to you. Like, it may be great. And I was like, okay. I was like, you're right. I can try it for a week. What's the worst that can happen? I can go back to eating meat, fish, whatever. So I went to Whole Foods and I shopped straight vegan. I took everything else out of my house and I never went back. Never ever.
Wow.
And people are like, oh my God, well, how? Or like, this and that. Do you miss it? And I'm like, no, because there's an alternative for everything. I can have pizza. I can have burgers. I can have hot dogs. I can have sausage. I can have egg. There's a vegan egg. I can have cheese, I can have butter, I can have cookies. Oreos are vegan. I've had Oreos since I was a child. They're my favorite. Eat everything. And I don't kill animals in the process. My body is so much healthier and I feel better. My face has cleared up. Like there's just so many things that it benefited at the end of the day. So one, like I'm never, and I'm not bothered by it. You know, I was out to dinner with, you know, a new group of people the other night and they were like, oh my God, like, are you okay if we like, and I was like, yes, I've eaten it all. I've been not vegan. So I've had the chicken, the ribs, the pork, I was like, but I have no interest in it anymore. And if you do, that's your prerogative. I'm not going to judge you for it. That's your choice, but that's just not my choice anymore. So yeah.
I love that. I love it. And that your body is receiving it with ease too. It's like a gift to your body because whatever was showing up before wasn't working for it. And this is just like just a beautiful marriage of being and then being in your body. Because from my awareness, we have a body and we have a being, and they each have a consciousness of their own, and we're meant to correspond with them, you know, through our awareness and asking questions like, body, what would you like? Or, you know, kind of in being, what would you desire? You know, it's kind of the two different ways of looking at it. And you have like a
hard to figure it out. Like sometimes you can't, and that causes stress and anxiety and all these other things on top of life, you know. So it's definitely a relieving thing to just be like, oh, maybe that's what was wrong. Maybe my body just didn't process me. And I know it's not for everybody, but for me, it was game changing.
It works beautifully. And that's the difference between when we are in more of that anxiousness and kind of heaviness of where like almost a spinny feel to the whole thing, rather you're like, just like you're about to go with your new home. Like just settling into it.
Monday. That's how I'm gonna get into bed at night. I'm done.
And this is mine. It's kind of like those moments you have like in the movies when you're on set, you're like,
I've had a few here. I haven't been here very long, and my parents have been down here a lot, like helping me. So it's been a lot in and out. But yeah, there are times, there's been a few times where I'm in here and I'm just looking around and I'm like, whoa, this is what I've worked for so far, is to get here and to own a place and like did it. Like it's a big step, you know? So it's definitely been really exciting and really, it just makes me feel very thankful for all the work that I have put in. Like it was worth it. You did it, you know, and then to also look forward and be like, okay, now the next step, you know, you have to keep that work ethic up. You got to keep going. There's a next. So it's good. It kind of like gives you some motivation to like propel forward again. So it's been great.
Well, and the way you talk about it and even being in the place, it's like your own space. Like a lot of times we don't have a lot of space, especially when we're around a lot of people, or you are like accessing millions of people all the time, even them seeing your work, so that you have your own space. Wow. And
it really is, because I even feel like I have different like levels and just feels in the place. I'm in a townhouse. So one, you know, like the third floor is my floor, and it's just like eventually I'm gonna have an office, and it's like I just kind of now have space for everything, which is definitely very like calming mentally, because I'm like, okay, like I have all my little dimensions and pockets where I can like do stuff and either be relaxed or be creative or go to sleep. And it's just, I'm so thankful. I'm so excited.
It's like your own little world in all the little different locations. And they it's now your backdrop for all your amazing videos too. So how much fun can you have with that?
I'm so excited. I just like, I told people on my live today, I'm like, I just can't even think about shooting until I'm settled. Because if I see a box in the distance, it's like, okay, why am I focusing on this? Like, I just want to get everything out, until to see it all. There's clothes that I haven't even seen in months because I've been here working, and all my stuff's been in LA. So I've been in the same cycle of clothes too, which as a female, you know, that'll drive you crazy. So it's like now I see clothes and I'm like,
it's like a whole new like little shopping spree you go on. Oh, I'm gonna go discover something.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I put on shoes the other day and I was like, oh, I have different shoes, not the same four that I've been wearing. Like It's just, yeah, it's been a revelation over here.
Wow. It's so much fun. And yet at the same time, you're like, yes, I'm ready to be settled.
So ready. I'm excited. I'm close. I'm close.
So close.
Yes.
So I'm wondering, is there anything you would like to share with the audience, maybe with them that you would like to encourage them of, or any words of wisdom that you could bring to just, I don't know, anything really that's showing up in this moment?
I mean, everyone's always kind of looking for something different, but for me, I think I would just say like, follow your dream, follow your passion. Like, however crazy or maybe unreachable in the moment it may feel, like, go for it, because, I'm, again, the most humble, yet I'll say it, I'm one of the best martial artists that there were in the circuit that I competed in, coming out of a very male dominant sport. And it was always one of those things where even as a kid, people were like, well, you'll never be as good as the boys. And I was like, well, watch me.
Ah, I love it. It inspired you.
Yeah, I will be. So it's like one of those things that for me, when someone says like, oh, well, I can't, or I don't feel comfortable. And it's like, yeah, there are some uncomfortable times when it comes to growing or moving to the next step of life. But sometimes that one uncomfortable event brings you to where you want to be, to greatness, and when whatever it may be, if it's makeup's your passion, or styling, or baseball, or like whatever it may be, just do it if you want to do it, because life is short. And like the older that I get, the days just go by faster and faster. And it's like, you start really seeing life and you're like, oh my gosh. And I told that to someone the other day. I said, life's short. If you want to do it, because you never know. Tomorrow could be your last day. And look at all the things you said, oh, I wish, or, oh, I could have. And, you may not have the support from everybody, or you may get that judgment, or you may, but at the end of the day, it's what makes us individually happy. And no matter what anybody says or thinks is crazy, do it. Because at the end of the day, you're going to be satisfied when you lay in bed at the end of the night and be like, this is what I love. Like, this is what I dream of. So for me, I guess that would be my best advice.
Well, and I'm so grateful that you chose it, and that you're being you in this world that oftentimes people don't resonate with who they are, and you're being it. And like, what a gift.
Thank you.
And I see that, and it's, like I said earlier, emanates in everything you're choosing and being. And wow. And I sense you didn't give up, you didn't quit, you didn't stop. And this advice to the viewers, it's like, just keep choosing and being it and follow your dream. Like, how's it getting better than that?
Well, you just got to go after it. And it won't be easy, but you just got to go after it.
Yeah. And you didn't let anything get in your way. Other people's points of view, points of order of what gender, not gender, or all the rest. You're like, okay. You did it anyway.
Went for it, straight for it.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I would love to have you back on the show at some point, if you'd be open to coming on.
Of course, anytime. This has been so much fun.
Oh,
this is great. No, for sure. Anytime you want me, I will be more settled. I will hopefully be in a different backdrop the next time.
Oh, you'll come in next time. You'll have the sunshades on. You'll be like,
no.
I'm like,
never ever. You don't have to worry about that.
Oh, well,
come back, and thank you for having me. Thank
you. Absolutely. And we'll look forward to seeing you in the world of magic that you create.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for being with us today. And be sure to join us next time for more conversations and insights into some of your favorite influencers. Now, don't forget to join me, Dr. Sarah, anywhere I'm on social media. And always, always, always remember that I have your back.